Justice Department lawyers are now working around the clock to comb through more Epstein files for public release. That's according to the department's Deputy Attorney General, Todd Blanche, who tweeted yesterday that the department is recruiting more lawyers to assist with this work. That news came hours after both the New York Times and Reuters reported that the DOJ has as many as 5.2 million pages of files left to go through. This will extend the complete release of the files well beyond the legally mandated December 19th deadline, which has come and gone. So far, many of the disclosures have been heavily redacted, as we've been reporting. Joining us now is former Assistant Manhattan District Attorney Catherine Christian. She's also an MS Now legal analyst. Catherine, how do you see Blanche's comments that the DOJ is trying to enlist more manpower here?
Well, it's 5.2 million documents. You better believe it has to be an all hands on deck endeavor, because apparently this didn't start until December 19th, which was the deadline for them to release everything. And it's not shocking that there are 5 million plus documents. This was a decade of criminal activity. That's a lot of emails, a lot of financial records. There will be a lot of people who would have been interviewed. So that's a lot of witness interview documents. So the number is not shocking. You're going to have video surveillance and photos. What is shocking and surprising is that DOJ didn't know. The U.S. Attorney in the Southern District of New York knew, and the Southern District of Florida knew. Why? Because they were the ones that did the investigation of Epstein. The Southern District of New York was the one that tried and convicted Ghislaine Maxwell. Her attorneys knew how many documents. So that's the only surprise, is that the Attorney General and her top managers were not aware of the breadth of the documents.
Certainly a surprise to many people. Blanche tweeted that the process was time consuming because the DOJ has to, quote, review documents in compliance with federal law. Does that hold up as legitimate reason that this process has been so much slower and some would argue messier than had been mandated?
Well, the only real legitimate reason is you want to protect the identity of the survivors. And so that's a careful review. You're not just taking out their names. It's taking out any personal identifying information. Anyone who knew them personally would say, oh, I know who that is. So that will take a lot of time, because you don't want to just release everything and then have survivors say, wait a minute, why is my name there? Why are my medical records have been released? So that's legitimate. What's not legitimate is their lack of knowledge of how many documents there were.
The Justice Department's rollout has been slammed by members of both parties. We had Republican Thomas Massie even ask his followers if Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, should be impeached. Realistically, Catherine, what happens if the DOJ officials aren't complying with the law here?
Realistically, no, she won't be impeached. They will argue, DOJ, we are complying, we're releasing documents, we're not aware there was 5 million, and that's why it's taking us longer, and we need to protect the survivors, and that's taking us a long time to redact. That's why we have over 400 lawyers and FBI agents doing it. So realistically, there really will be no penalty that will have any meat against the Department of Justice. It's a lot of, Congress people saying they're going to do X, Y, and Z, but realistically, not much seriously is going to happen.
And speaking of those Congress people saying they're going to do X, Y, and Z, Senate Judiciary Committee ranking member Dick Durbin and Senator Sheldon Whitehouse sent a letter to the White House demanding answers about White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles' access to the Epstein files after she told Vanity Fair that she, quote, read the Epstein file. What do you make of that?
Well, that's a legitimate question. Why is the Chief of Staff involved in reviewing documents? And as we know, at the time that she gave that interview, there apparently weren't 5 million documents. So, and we should also remember, and I'm not a political analyst, who is in control of the Senate and the House. It's the same party as the White House. So you can send letters, you can make threats. It is a legitimate question, though, why the Chief of Staff had knowledge.